Today we're headed off to the floating gardens of Xochimilco, which are the remnants of the canal system built by the Aztecs for their capital city of Tenochtitlan. And the reviews on this seem to be 1 or 5. People seem to love it or hate it.
Yeah, and that's probably because there's 2 competing ideas to this. You might want to go for the history and the nature of the area, or you might want to go for the party boat, cultural, current atmosphere of the area, and those 2 could kind of clash. So we're going with an open mind, and we'll let you know what we find.
In our research, we found several different piers where you can rent a boat and even some tours that focus on the history and the nature. However, we've decided to go down to what's the most popular pier, which is the Embarcadero Nativitas. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is that it's easy to get to by public transportation, and the other is that we just really wanted to experience all of sort of the Mexican cultural experience that is a gondola ride on the canals. To get to the Embarcadero, you need to navigate to the Tasqueña station at the south end of the Blue Metro line. From there, there's a train called the Tren Ligero that goes directly to Xochimilco. Tenochtitlan, the ancient capital of the Aztec Empire, was built on an island on the western side of the largest of 5 interconnected lakes, named Lake Texcoco. To extend the area for farming, they built small artificial floating islands by packing mud and silt on top of rafts made of juniper branches, and then tying them off to trees. Eventually, one raft would sink and another would be built on top until they formed small square islands called chinampas. The rich soil and good access to water year-round made them ideal for farming. The city of Tenochtitlan was largely destroyed in a siege by Spanish conquistadors in 1521, and Cortés, the leader of the conquistadors, began building Mexico City on the ruins. The dams had been destroyed and were never rebuilt, so early Mexico City had serious problems with flooding. Efforts to control the flooding eventually led to the draining of all 5 lakes, and much of modern-day Mexico City rests in the former lake basin. What we're going to see here at Xochimilco is pretty much all that's left of the extensive lake and canal system that used to connect all the settlements in the valley.
And the word Xochimilco means flower field in Aztec, that's what we were told. And that's because of all the crops and flowers that used to be grown here. And there's still some farming done, but it's most of the money comes from tourism now.
And so one of the main modern day things to do here is to take a gondola ride on the canals, and in fact it's sort of earned Xochimilco the nickname of the Venice of Mexico. Trajineras are small, colorful boats that are pulled along the shallow water of the canals, and they're popular with both tourists and residents of Mexico City, especially on Sundays. I did read that weekends are busier with more drinking and celebration, while weekdays are calmer and more family-friendly. We were initially planning to come on Sunday for the full experience, but the weather didn't cooperate, so what you'll be seeing is a Wednesday instead. Once you get to the dock, there are signs that tell you the standardized price. When we were here, it was 750 pesos an hour. That price is per boat, per hour, not per person. So if you have a big group, these boats can seat 20, and it's a pretty good deal. The signage is pretty clear, and no one tried to tell us otherwise as far as price, so it was pretty easy and there was no haggling. In addition to getting a boat, there is an entire market of crafts and souvenirs to check out. Each boat is privately owned and operated, and you can see that many owners take great pride in keeping their boats in order and freshly painted. Based on recommendations we'd read, we decided that 2 hours was a good cruise length, and there are hundreds of boats, so once we were ready to go, there was no problem finding a ride. In fact, it seemed like a bit of a slow morning, and a guy had pretty much been following us around from the time we arrived, waiting for us to be ready for a ride.
So it turns out that Embarcadero Nativitas was not actually that close to the public transportation that we were on, and it was quite an adventure actually to get here. And we will tell you the details of that later so that that will be useful to you if you choose to come here. But we are here now, and we are on a boat, and we're really enjoying it. There is mariachi bands that you can pay to come on your boat and play. There are food, there's drinks, there are all kinds of things that you can purchase or enjoy while you're on the boat, and we're just having a leisurely boat stroll down the canals. I'm really enjoying it. I got some elote from someone passing by, butter and cheese, roasted corn.
Eat it.
Oh, you want me to eat it? Very good. A little dry. Maybe because I didn't get the mayonnaise version.
Yeah.
Boat, the mariachi band can come on board and play a song. If your boat's full with people already, then they can just pull up alongside and tie up and serenade you from next door.
One of the things I was looking forward to was getting tacos on the boat, and in this case we kind of pulled up to the side. They tied the boat to the side while they made the tacos, and then they served them to us. I don't know what happens with the spoon at the end of the day, but that's not my problem.
Because the Canal and Chinampa system are a unique piece of the pre-colonial history of the region, the site, including the canals and its ecosystem, was made a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1987. This unique environment is home to several endemic aquatic species, including the critically endangered and locally beloved axolotl, a salamander that was considered an incarnation of the god of fire and lightning by the Aztecs and is seen as a national symbol by modern-day Mexicans. Mexico is crazy about the axolotl, and if you love amphibians like I do, a great place to see them is the amphibian at the Chapultepec Zoo. The axolotl has been studied quite a bit for its ability to regenerate not only lost limbs, but damaged organs, including the heart, spinal cord, and even parts of the brain. Another unique characteristic is that they reach adulthood without undergoing metamorphosis, which no other amphibian does. So they stay in their larval juvenile phase their entire lives. And some of those characteristics make them adorable, with feathery gills, webbed feet, and little mouths that look like they're smiling all the time. Even though these canals are the only wild home of the axolotl, you aren't likely to see any out here. Sadly, axolotls are facing extinction, and the most recent assessment is that there are fewer than 100 left in the wild. The remnants of Lake Xochimilco among the chinampas is the only place in the world they live, and over the last century, habitat has shrunk, the water has become more polluted, and invasive fish that eat salamander eggs have been introduced. But the axolotl is beloved by the Mexican people, and scientists are working with local farmers to help protect and expand the salamander's habitat. There were a number of places along the canals that claimed to have captive axolotls, and although they may be legit conservationists, I didn't find a lot of information and wasn't sure that intentions went beyond tourist money. So we stuck with the boat ride while we were at the canals and saw our axolotls at the zoo.
We've been on the boat for about an hour now, and it's a lot of fun. I would say it would be more fun with more people. Just the two of us is a different experience than you see boats that are full on 20 people, and it definitely looks like a good time.
I imagine there were probably a lot more things out here on a Sunday as far as food and beverage options, but there was still quite a bit out here. We had a beer, a soda, some elotes, there were enchiladas being sold. So there was definitely still some options and still plenty going on. We were out for 2 hours and we're back, and it was a really fun experience. I can't believe that it's actually already over. So with just the two of us on a boat, it was actually quite relaxing.
Yeah, it was really relaxing, and it's kind of cliche to say this kind of thing, but if you do one thing in Mexico City, I would say this is the thing to do. And the way we did it, it was very, I would say, it was more in the party atmosphere. There was a lot of noise. There was a lot of things going on. So if you're looking for the peaceful nature, which is available here, the canals go to some quiet places, you might want to look into a tour, because we couldn't quite figure out how to navigate that on our own.
Even on a weekday, while there were a lot of tourists for sure, there were definitely a lot of what seemed like local people as well. So it was a really nice mix, and it felt like a pretty, authentic experience of what some people might do in Mexico City for fun.
Yeah, so it's always nice when you're not doing just the tourist thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're actually doing what locals do as well. It's a much better experience.
A couple of tips to going out: make sure you go to the bathroom first. There are actually bathrooms along the way in some places that you could pull over for. It's more convenient if you don't have to, but know that those are out there. And then also bring a lot of small bills if you're going to buy, you're going to want to buy food or souvenirs or drinks, or all those things are available, but you need to have some smaller bills for that.
And I'd also say expect the prices to be higher because we've been wandering around the city for a couple of days before this, and everything's pretty inexpensive, and everything here is more expensive. So it's kind of like at home when you go to an arena or something.
Yeah, tourist prices.
Yeah, tourist prices. So expect that.
But we had a great time. Like Daryl said, we would definitely recommend that you do this if you're in Mexico City. We hope that our video is helpful to you in deciding whether this is a thing that you would enjoy and is worthwhile. So until next time,
enjoy your travels. We're back in our hotel now, and we sort of wanted to share the story of our little adventure we had getting to the dock we wanted to get. So we got off the train, and as soon as you get out of the train station, you're immediately greeted with people who want to point you in the direction of the dock. We're not quite sure if they wanted more than that, because we kind of ignored them. And there were also signs to Embarcaderos, which is the dock. And we assumed that those signs pointed to the dock that we wanted to go to. So we just started following those signs, and that was our first mistake.
Actually, before we started heading that way, we looked and we checked where the dock we wanted to get to. It was about half an hour walk away, and so we were like, oh, that's longer than we thought. And that was sort of why we started following the signs. We thought, well, those will probably get us to the popular dock. And so we followed the signs for a little while, and it did take us to a dock. We ended up at a Embarcadero Belém, which had boats and people offering us rides, but nothing besides the boats. There's no, souvenirs, no, I don't know. It was obviously a smaller kind of place.
Very few people around.
Nobody around. Yeah. So we were like, well, this is fine. We're gonna keep looking. Mm-hmm. And so we
we kept walking, even though the signs sort of took us there. And so we kept walking. We decided, hey, we've seen a lot of these bike taxis. Maybe we could take one of those, because now we're actually, looked at the map, we're even further from the dock from Nativitas where we wanted to go. And so we're looking for a bike taxi. And as we're doing that, a guy pulls up and is trying to tell us about a bigger dock that's up the road, and he sort of keeps coming back while we're walking.
Yeah, and he's obviously trying to sell us on a boat, and we can't decide if we should just go with him, pick another dock since we're so far away. But then we decide, no, we do want to go to the dock that we decided we want to go to. So we tell him that no, we want to go to this dock, and he says that dock is closed. He kept insisting that dock was closed, and then we should go. And so we're kind of like, we weren't sure, and I didn't believe him.
You were skeptical. Daryl was especially skeptical.
So that's when we really started to look for a bike taxi. We figured that was the fastest way to the dock we wanted to go.
Yeah. And so we found a bike taxi. It was actually a motorcycle, like a moto taxi, and he agreed to take us to Nativitas for 60 pesos, and we were like, yep, that sounds great. And we went and got in, and the bike guy is still there insisting, no, it's closed, it's closed, it's closed. He's talking to our new bike taxi guy too, and we're like, I hope that when this guy starts driving, he's going to take us where we want to go and not where the bike guy is telling him to go. And so we did eventually leave, and I kept an eye on my map to just sort of see, like, it seemed like we were going the right way.
Yeah, and then so we drove through the city with our moto taxi, which is basically just a motorcycle with a little
rickshaw kind of thing.
Yeah, a rickshaw kind of thing in the back. A very rough, bumpy ride. And as we're doing it, the original guy who was trying to sell us on a dock is following this guy on his bicycle, and he's saying something to him. We have no idea what.
He's just talking to him constantly
Yeah,
as
he
we're
stops
driving.
at a red light and he keeps talking to him. But thankfully, our motorcycle guy just kept ignoring him and kept going.
Yeah.
And eventually, that guy peeled off.
Yeah, about halfway there. And so our motorcycle taxi guy was great. He took us where we wanted to go. He was super nice. And when we got to Embarcadero Nativitas, there's a huge welcome sign and a huge parking lot, which I would say
obviously very open.
Yeah, obviously very open. Yes, there are people everywhere. It's got this big parking lot. It's obviously the place that a lot of people do come, especially if you're driving. There's a good parking lot. It has this huge market, all these market stalls, and tons of boats that are clear. That boats coming in and out, and it was still a thriving place. So
the guy was lying to our face.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can't always believe people who are trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
But
so we're glad we stuck to our guns and went to the one that we originally researched and wanted to go to.
Yeah. So we had a great experience there. It was good. I think those other places, it would have been fine. There didn't seem like anything wrong with those, but that's not, we're really happy with the experience that we got. And we also saw the importance of just being confident about where you're going and communicating that and letting people know that this is really this is our plan. This is where we want to go. And eventually you'll get there.
One thing we've learned in our travels is not to let people take you places. You don't want to go, because it happens a lot around the world.
Yeah, for sure. So just stick to your guns and go where you want to go, and if you choose to go on a boat ride, I'm sure you'll have a great time.
Yep.